Attention, bobsled riders! You will soon be embarking on a thrilling podcast down the icy slopes of the Matterhorn. So please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the bobsled at all times. Auf Wiedersehen!
Hello, Yodelers! We are the Matterhorn Yodelers. I am your host, Jackie. We have...
Chiefeth.
And...
Disgruntled cast member, Peter!
And today, this week's episode, we are going to be talking about the question I often get. I don't know about my fellow Yodelers, but why don't you work for Disney anymore? And,
Do you want me to answer that right now?
No.
Oh, that's what we're talking about.
That's what
okay.
we're talking about.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
No, it's true. It's a question that comes up a lot, especially like when you have a background that we do of like being huge Disney fans who have also worked at Disney at one point or another. That tends to come up usually in work settings where people are just like, why don't you work there anymore? Why'd you leave? And so, it's there's a lot that goes into answering that question, and I think that's why we wanted to have this discussion here today, because I think it's more than just one thing or another. It's a variety of different things as to why one might be staying with Disney and why one might leave.
It is certainly a loaded question.
Yes. And what we will be talking about today is our personal experiences and our thoughts. Now, everybody's experience and cast members that currently work for the company are completely different. And so this is just our point of view. This is not everybody's point of view. We do not speak for the company.
I do. I speak for all those who are disgruntled and unhappy with the company. I, Chiefeth, am the spokesman of why I don't work at Disney.
The Jafar, the guy from Magic Carpets of Aladdin.
Yeah, the bad guy.
The bad guy at the Aladdin ride. He's the bad guy.
Certainly, yes.
Now, all three of us, for those who are not aware, all three of us did work for the Disney World Company. We worked in parks and resorts.
So, Jackie, where did you work? So everyone has a quick background.
So I worked in the resort. So I started off in Caribbean Beach and Bell Service and as a greeter, and then I moved on to being a front desk agent at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and that was during the Disney College program.
What was your duration of being there? From what time? How long and what dates?
So I was there. I worked for the company about 8 or 9 months. And I was there from August of 2015 until, I don't know, I think it was like May of 2016. Around that time. And then Chiefeth.
So I worked from the company starting off as a CP, or a college program intern, in May of 2010. And I worked in attractions purely the whole entire time. Started at Mission Space, did that for 6 months, and then I went seasonal for about 3 months, and then I was part-time for 3 months, but they didn't want me at Epcot East or at Mission Space, and so I got picked up at the Haunted Mansion at Magic Kingdom at Adventureland Liberty Square. So I got trained there for part-time, and I was going to school at the time, so I wasn't too much like, I wasn't stressed, like, I need money, Disney, give me hours. Like, I was doing okay. And then 3 months later, after that, I got picked up for full-time at the Haunted Mansion. And while I was there at the Haunted Mansion, I got trained at ATT, which is also known, by the guest as Aladdin, Magic Carpet Rides, Tiki Room, and Swiss Family Treehouse. And so that's in the Adventureland side of AdLib.
almost everything but Jungle Cruise
Everything but Jungle Cruise. Yes, and I was there for
and
3 years.
Pirates and
And
Pirates.
Pirates.
And Pirates. Yeah, I was there. I left the company May 2013.
And then for me, I worked at the Hollywood Tower Hotel, the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. I worked there from it was August 2006 all the way to January 2007, just a semester for the Disney College program. Uh, Way back in the day when Hollywood Studios was called the MGM Studios. So
Back in my day.
that's right. Woo-hoo! We had
So-
that right about the movies.
I miss that ride.
Yeah. So we are going to be talking what it's like to be a cast member working for the Disney World, the perks, the not so perks, and then we'll get into the details.
Yeah, let's talk about what was your draw to become a cast member for Disney.
I'll go first. It was, I had just gotten out of the military, and I was at school, and they had it on the whiteboard. Hey, Disney College Program internship, and I was like, oh yeah, Peter did that. That's pretty cool. And Peter had just come back home from South Africa, and so I was like, oh, we were both there, and I thought it would have been cool. Like, we should both apply, and then we could like go and do the college program. I don't know what your thoughts were on me, like, we should do it together, but you applied, and,
Yes.
I went, and that's what drew me. It was like, oh, yeah, and plus, when you, like, are a kid, and you are at home, it's fine, but when you're an adult, and you move back home, and your parents still think you're kids, there's a lot of, like, I need to leave, I need to grow up, I need to be an adult, and so that's kind of why I was like, I need an escape. And so
Sure.
Disney World was my Mexico. I needed to
You're backpacking through Europe.
my
you're-
backpacking through Europe. I need to escape. I need to join the circus.
Yeah, mine's pretty similar to that because, well, I always knew about the college program because Peter was the first one out of the three of us who did it. And so I always thought, like, in high school, I was like, oh, that's such the coolest thing. I want to do it. And I was actually planning on doing it right after, like, my first semester of college. Because at that point, you had to be at least do a semester in college. But then life plans change, and I decided to stay at school and do college. And so I did college, and then it's my last semester, I was graduating, and I had no idea what I was going to do in my life. I was studying a hospitality major, and so I was like, I'll go apply for the college program, and I got in, and I did it to run from the world, so yeah.
To Disney World.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for me, I didn't have the luxury of having the knowledge of somebody else that had gone and worked for Disney before. In fact, I didn't even know the college program existed until my high school English teacher, she pulled me to the side one day and she was all like, hey, I got this in my emails of, teacher stuff, and it was this thing about the Disney College program called Career Start. It wasn't CP, it was a CT. And so, I went down with my dad and went in for the interview, had no idea what I was signing in for. It was like, okay, it looks like I'm gonna go work for Disney, I guess. I don't know. I had no clear-cut vision in my life. I was a senior in high school, and, I knew eventually I was gonna go serve a religious mission for my church. But there was still some time in between hand, and so I know the only thing that I was possibly considering was, okay, well, I guess I'll do some community college beforehand, and then this opportunity presented itself as, hey, you can do this instead and have a heck of a lot of fun. And I went and got everything that my heart desired when it came to my college program experience. I got the job that I wanted. I got the roommate that I wanted. It was pretty. I had a great program, that's for sure. And then I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, so let's talk about kind of like the pros of working for Disney. What are some of the benefits, the perk of why someone would want to work for Disney?
Oh, you can go to the park whenever you want.
Yeah,
That's just
That's
nice.
That's number one.
that's
number
definitely number one. You have access to the park as a cast member. There are some blockout days, but generally when there's a blockout day, you don't want to go to the park.
Yeah, usually you're already working like long days, and you're like, no, I'm good. And yeah, and if you really want to get there, you know how to get there.
Yep.
You know how to
you
go
do.
from backstage on stage. No one's going to stop you.
Yeah.
Oh, security's watching. Oh, really? Security's watching all the doors? Okay. They've got 70,000 guests in the park. They're worried about cast members.
And they know which cast members are working and which ones don't belong in that park. And yeah, no, it's very easy to get into the different theme parks on days you're not supposed to. But for the most part, most of the days you can't get into are days you don't want to be anywhere close to the
No.
park.
No.
So it's
It's Christmas Day, New Year's Eve. It's just busy nonsense. Ugh.
and most likely you're working those days
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not that big of a deal when it comes to your blockouts.
You also get some discounts when it comes to merchandise and food.
Yeah, it's like 20% off. So when you go out to eat, your tip's paid for because you're a cast member. They do an automatic 20%
Yeah.
gratuity, no matter how many people are there. And then that also leads to a negative aspect where, well, they know you're a cast member, they already got their tip, so they can treat you like garbage, and you have to take it. And
Yep.
I've had those meals where it's like, I got one glass of water
Yeah.
the whole entire time. It was at the Le Cellier,
Yeah.
the cellar at Canada. I was so disappointed. It was my birthday, too, you jerk.
Yes. It's different. Yeah, I would say that's a con is when you're a cast member and another cast member finds out that
Yeah.
you get less service, a quality of service.
Yeah, before they you would just tell them at the end, and they would have to do it, and then they could treat you differently. But then they came out with a rule like you need to, if you want to use your coupons, you have to do it before. And I was like, well, that's garbage.
Yeah.
That works in their favor, not ours.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is definitely some biasness against you as a cast member amongst other cast members when it comes to certain qualities that normal guests get.
But I wouldn't say that was 100% of the time. I had some great waiters and service as a cast member. There are some cast members that go above and beyond and make it special for everyone.
Yep.
Well, those are cast members that love their job.
Yes.
Or they know if they can maybe get an extra tip or add it to it. You know, there are those people where I had no problem tipping extra, and you know, there are some cast members that would take at liberty like, oh, I'm a cast member, I get to stay in the extra tragic hours, and I had like no tolerance for that. You know,
Yeah.
they would flash the badge like, oh, can I get on the ride? And I'm all like, nope, you could leave the park. And they're like, no, man, I'm a cast member. And I'm all like, oh, really? Let me call my manager. And they'll come here. And they were like, not cool, man. And it's all like, sayonara. Like,
Yep.
I had a problem with, like, cast members breaking, like those extra tragic hour or
Yes.
stay late for the party, and it's all like, nope, I paid for those, amenities or those perks. It's like and that was across the. I really didn't meet too many cast members that were
Honestly, I didn't run
forgiving
into
of
that issue too much.
cast members too much. Yeah, I dealt with that because I worked nights or I worked the parties, and you would see it and you're like, nope, sorry. It's like, how do I know you're not gonna get me fired? Like, because Disney has those undercover like security guards, and I
Yep.
don't know.
Yeah, so
Perks.
perks.
So you get in the parks. One perk is your family members can get into the park.
Yes, that's great.
Not all the time with you, but a certain amount.
Sometimes.
Yes, they changed the rule when I was a CP partially, but basically you get guest tickets by the number of hours you work.
Yeah, I think we got like 5 or 6 comp tickets or something like that. I couldn't remember how many. It's been a while.
I think it was like 6.
And you can keep them for a while, or some
got-
would expire.
I think mine, I could be wrong, but I believe you had like six groupings. So like, for example, like you can do up to 5 guests per
Yeah.
grouping. And so I could invite at least, my entire family, one per day, without wasting all of my tickets for one park, one stay. They could go for the whole week for my whole family. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still the same thing, but that's the way it was for me back in my day.
Yeah, this is of course before reservation, so I don't know what it is currently with the whole new systems and reservation systems. But yeah, they changed it to where you just get like one park hopper ticket for like a number of hours.
And I'm sure they have that kind of program set up where guests, or nobody wants to go to the park by themselves all the time. You usually go into the park with friends and family that work for the company, but friends that come to visit, you're going to get at least 1 week's worth of, passes for your family to go, I think, while you're working there. I don't think that aspect would change.
Did you ever get those friends that found out you were working for Disney and
Yeah.
that suddenly started talking to you out of the blue and you're like wanting for tickets or to get in for free?
Yeah, I got that. A couple of friends growing up. It's alright. I have no problem. The thing is that Disney will, like, if you sell your comp tickets, you'll get fired.
Yeah.
I remember somebody was all like, I got him in to the park, and he's all like, hey, man, here's $100. And I was like, no. Like, I made it wide, like, no, I don't want this. Enjoy your day. Like, I'm like, there's cameras watching us.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. Have you seen Mickey's ears? They're huge.
That was a big rule, is you could not sell your comp tickets. And technically a rule was you had to be with your guests
Yes.
at all times. Now that rule is always broken.
Oh, no. You're like, walk in the park. You're like, have a good day. Walk right back out.
Yes.
Definitely. And then, as far as discounts on merchandise, guests cannot use your discount, and
No, you have to be there.
you have to pay for it.
You have to run the transaction.
Yeah.
You have to pay for it. Because I think I ran into an issue with, like, I think mom and dad, they wanted to buy something at Downtown Disney. And, they had the money. I didn't. And so they're like, here, give your son the money. He'll run the transaction, and then he'll get the discount. And they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I love it when the cast members walk you through how to beat the system. You're like, oh, okay, all right, this is how this works.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so if you are going with cast members, bring cash. Buy them dinner. Be nice to them.
No, and one of the perk was mom and dad got to go to Disney, 2007, and they got to go 2 or 3 times when I was there, and then we went and visited you, Jackie. So those are, I mean, trips to Disney World are like
They're
10,000
expensive.
or more a year. I mean, or a
Yeah.
trip. So I mean, if you add that up for mom and dad, that's like $50,000 right there on trips to Disney.
Yep, it's a lot.
You know, getting tickets and the discounts and while you're there as a cast member, you accumulate so much merchandise. Like,
Yes.
and that's how Disney gets their money back.
Yes.
That's why you join the Disney College program. You're pretty much free labor for Disney because they know every money they give you, you're giving it right back. So.
hmm
Yes.
I'll take this piece of plastic that looks like the character I love. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm gonna buy all the merchandise at the attraction that I work at.
Yeah.
You know, it's you fall for that every single time.
Yeah. I still fall for it. I'm like, more
Yep.
Haunted Mansion stuff.
Yep,
Please.
Haunted
Thank you.
Mansion. I still get all the Tower Terror T-shirts and things like that.
I know you can get to the point where you look at your closet and you go, all my shirts have Disney on it.
Certainly have. I'm wearing a Disney shirt right now,
Yeah.
so that makes it. It's like, yep, that's true.
So those are some of the perks. I guess other perks is it's a magical place to work.
It is nice to go there and escape. When you work there, you don't feel obligated to stay there all day. You only go there for like 2-3 hours, and you're like, wow, that was great. You ride the rides you want, and you leave.
You start experimenting and doing weird stuff in the park. Like,
Hey, Peter,
for example,
This is a family show.
not going that far. No, so like one day I was all like, I'm gonna go to the Magic Kingdom and sit in front of the castle all day, and I literally sat in front of the castle for like 6+ hours until I'm like, you know what, this was enough. You know, you just do things without that pressure of being like, well, I have to get on Space Mountain and I have to get on Pirates and Haunted Mansion. No, I'm just gonna chill out, people watch, and enjoy the atmosphere and do things that you would never do if you were to pay full price for a ticket inside the park.
I agree.
Yes.
You certainly go to more restaurants than you experiment all the restaurants, and you know where to eat, you know the right snacks.
I would visit hotel lobbies and just sit in the lobbies. Contemporary, on their convention floor, has the best couches ever to take a nap on.
Oh yeah, I remember those couches. I'd go to the Wave and eat
Yeah.
there.
So yeah, you get to just do things with no pressure of like, oh, I spent this money and I need to get my money's worth. So
Like
Yeah, we
there was even a day where I walked in and I go, I don't want to be here, and I left. Like, I didn't even ride
Same.
a ride. I walked in, I walked down the street, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? I don't want to be here. I'm going back home.
And, and that kind of leads you to like one of the negative things. You stay there and then you get kind of bored with it.
yes,
And
There's a burnout
spoiled.
factor. Yeah, you get spoiled where you're like, meh.
you become like a snob.
You become jaded.
You can be, yeah,
Oh.
when it comes to lines, wait times.
Absolutely.
You
You're
look at it,
like-
you're like, no, not worth it.
20 minutes for Buzz Lightyear? No, walk on or nothing.
I got to the point with Rock and Roller Coaster. I rode that ride like probably like 6 or 7 times in a row, and then the line hit. Oh no, it's a 10-minute wait. I'm gonna go do something else now. Like, it's just like ridiculous how spoiled you get when it comes to wait times for certain attractions.
My time's worth more than this.
Right. It's like, oh, I guess I'll do something else. I won't ride this for the 8th time in the last hour.
Yes, you get that burnout from riding rides. You stop riding rides where it's like you ride it once when you first there and like, oh, I went to the park and I did all the rides, and then you're just like, never doing that again.
yeah.
Like Buzz Lightyear, I did like once, and I was like, nope, never again. Because the one at Disney World's not very good. It's not the same as Disneyland's.
I would say, like, my first time running a program, I would go to Disney as much as I could. Then towards the second half of my program, I spent a lot more time at Universal. The
How
Forbidden.
dare you?
The
How
park
dare
that
you.
shall
We
not
don't
be
talk-
named.
We don't talk about that here.
Please join us for our other podcast, the Matterhorn Yothers of Harry Potter. You know, like
No.
the Wizards of
The Wizards of the.
the Matterhorn Wizards, or Harry's frozen heads. There we go. You know,
Yes.
it's like you pluralize something singular. Yes, the Lone Rangers. I get it.
Now working.
Go
yeah,
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so working your standard hours. Usually, if you're a full time employee,
It's 8
you would-
hours.
Yeah, 40 hours.
Yeah.
A week.
If they're crunch, if you're full time, they'll squeeze you down to 32.
Yes.
And that's what was going on prior.
Yeah, so I saw a lot of hours cut when at the end of my program, because that's when Shanghai Disneyland was about to open, and the Disney was cutting down on budget, and they were really taking that out on like the hotels and the resorts, and so all the full-time employees had to go down to like 32 hours, and all the CPs went down to 30 hours, which taking that part of rent out of that too didn't leave you much money.
Oh no, it was like I can't remember how much I was making.
It was like
It was like
80
$100 bucks a
Yeah,
week.
it was like
It was
80
very little.
bucks. Yeah. So towards the end of the program, it got tight because they were cutting down hours, and they sent a lot of the CPs that got into hotels and front desk and concierge to quick service.
That makes sense. That's
Yep.
the one question they always ask you. They're like, when you do the college program, like, oh, are you willing to work in custodial or quick service? And your answer is always no.
No. No. I will work parking. I will do anything else. I will not do those things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I don't
I-
want to be a slide operator.
No. Yeah, where you work at a as a lifeguard. No, I had heard when that was going on, Jackie, with the throttling of hours, that you were seeing a lot of cast members. They were crunched. They were doing Uber, and so they were using people were hiring Ubers from that worked at Disney so that they could get people into the parks for free. They'd Uber in, don't have to pay for parking, and they get them on and off, and they knew how to get around the property pretty well. And so
Yeah.
I heard they had to come up with some way of managing that. It's like when
What do you
cast
think
members
about
were
that?
using their if they had an ADA pass, and people would hire
Yeah.
them as like their guest service person, and they would just go with the family and use their pass to get them on and off rides. And that made it to like the New York Times. Somebody wrote an
It
article
did.
about family.
That's when they completely changed their entire policy on how that works, and they made it more difficult for sadly they made it more difficult for those guests that need it, but it was a needed thing because it was just being abused too bad.
Oh yeah, I saw the abuse, and I was just I followed the rules to a
Yep.
T. People
You
be like,
let it-
oh, you read the name, you're like, okay, where's Tim Johnson? Oh, that's my dad. He's over there. He's not writing. Okay, well, you can go through the regular line. Well, we get this pass, and it's like, sorry, Tim Johnson has to write the ride. So Tim Johnson come around, be like, this is garbage. I don't want to ride this ride. You don't have to ride the ride, sir. I'm sorry. And just that was your way of really deterring people from, manipulating the
Right.
system. Because then they'll be like, I'm going to go to guest service. And I'm like, you can go to guest service, and they will point to you in the highlighted marker right here that you must be present when this pass is utilized. I can't change the rules for you, sir. That's not
Right.
fair.
Yes. So let's. Any other pros we want to talk about being a.
Oh no, let's go into why it sucks.
All right.
Yeah, I thought we had already started that portion
Well,
of the
we
discussion.
kind of dipped into
That was
it.
a pro, Peter. It's a pro. Telling guests, nope, you don't get to use your pass here. Oh, pro is you don't get to work as much here.
Well, I must say, there are some pros saying no to cast
It's
members.
not. Oh, the cast members?
Or no, not to cast members, to guests. I enjoyed saying no
It
when I
weighs
knew
on
I
you.
was right.
It doesn't matter because they start to yell at you. And so this transitions to like guest interactions.
Uh-huh.
Guests are mean.
And we've discussed this in
Yeah,
our
guests
prior
behaving badly
episodes.
episode.
Yes.
Yeah, some of the guests treat you as the enemy, as like Dr. No, ruiner of vacations, and it
Yep.
really weighs on you. I've had people totally demean their cast members, myself. I've seen people scream. I really was disgusted by the American tourist there.
Yeah,
That's what was not foreigners. Foreigners were very respectful, but the American tourist was very disgusting working there.
Yes, that you got to see some awful behavior by people. I mean, common phrase, of course, was always like, "You ruined my vacation." I mean, every cast member has heard that.
And you're like, boo, you want to do the little cry tear. Oh, your ruined vacation. Oh no, poor baby.
Yeah, no one cares.
Oh, I make minimum wage. Oh, I really don't care. Yeah.
There's definitely a romanticized thought process, especially from the eyes of guests, when it comes to the cast members working there. Thinking that, like, oh, these guests are solely here because they want to make my vacation the most magical experience, which most of the cast members there, they got a job, they need to get the job done to pay their bills, and, you know.
They like Disney.
Yes.
The only reason you work for such a low pay and some fun benefits, it's because it's Disney and you
love
believe
Disney.
in Disney.
Right.
You know, no
It's-
other company creates that mystique of like I work for Disney
Yes.
and the magic that comes by. No one goes like I work for GameStop or I work
Right.
for AMC.
there's no romanticization of any other workplace minimum wage sort of location except for Disney. Like Disney,
Yes.
they know how to make it magical because they sell it to you as a cast member. You are going to make dreams come true. You're going to be there to help that little girl run up to Mickey in front of the castle when no one else is around so that they can have their magical moment. And you're like, of course I want to do that. And you do get those moments to give those magical moments, which are amazing.
Yes.
But it is a job, and you deal with the day-to-day grind of typical things that you deal with at a job where you're the bottom of the rung. You don't really get respected by management. You have to follow everything to a T. You always have to smile if if you're not in a good mood. You
Not
know,
if you're
you
at the Haunted
just-
Mansion.
This is true. Tower of Terror, we got away with we could get away with it
But not
to
with
an
managers.
extent. Managers would say we're not the Haunted Mansion, so you need to smile. So then I would do my creepy smile, and it says, "Well, you're not wrong."
Please stop.
And I'm like,
Please stop.
"Oh."
Well, and working in the front desk and in hotels, there was, at the time when I was working for the company, there was this commercial where Disney was putting across everywhere, and it was like a guest goes up to a cast member at a hotel, I think it was like at the Grand Floridian or something, and they're like, "Oh, I want to do this, this, and this, and this," and she was like, "Okay, da, 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 there you go," and they're like, "Oh, how'd you do it?" And you show that she has like fairy wings, and she can get everything done that you want. I hated that commercial.
Oh yeah.
Because guests would actually come up to me and they're like, "Where's your fairy wings?"
I've got it. It's right here in my pocket. Obscene, blurry image comes out on your hand. Yeah, no.
Yeah, and I mean, there would be times where, like, guests would come up to me and they're like, can I get another fast pass? And I'm like, no.
No.
Why?
Yeah. I got it before. Yeah. The whole I got it before or I want a magical moment on demand.
Yes. Oh, can I have a magical moment? Can I get a fast pass for Seven Mine Train? And I'm like, you can't ask for a magical moment.
Nope.
You
not
can
gonna
have a
happen.
magical moment and get in the standby queue with everyone else who's having a magical moment.
Look, it's the magical moment queue. You guys are having a magical moment. You hate me. Continue on. Isn't it magical? Yeah, you get really clever with how guests are, and they're like, "That's not funny," and you're like, "It was to me."
I thought it was pretty good myself.
I
And
guess
my
until
cast
one
member
second.
next to me thought so too. My manager's giving me a look. They're not happy about it.
Oh well.
And that's another topic, managers. They will throw you under the bus.
Oh yeah. I had one where I first met him all like, "Oh, I don't trust you." I could just tell, like it was initial, and my judgment was right. I could not trust him. Yeah, he was.
Well, there's managers, and then there's what is it? Are they the coordinators? Is that what they're
Yeah,
called?
coordinators.
The coordinators. So managers, they you could deal with managers because for the most part they ignored you. It's the
At night, they
coordinators.
do.
It's the coordinators are the ones that are micromanaging everything. Those
Yeah,
are the
because they're
people
trying
that
to
you
get
just-
into the manager position.
Correct. They're trying to suck up. They're trying to move up the long ladder of long and yeah. It's a difficult path to go on the manager path when working at a Disney park or for
I like-
Disney in general.
I like my coordinators because the coordinators came from the regular cast member position. So I liked them all, and most of them were like coordinators in training. So I knew them. After being there for like 2 years, you knew all the coordinators, and they knew you, and they'd give you a break. And so the
Maybe
benefits
yours.
of staying there a long time, mine were really cool. And like I said, I was there for a long period of time, and so you'd help them out and they help you out and you develop a friendship and relationship over time with these coworkers, and so the relationship, it becomes more of a friendship more than like, oh, you're my superior or you're my manager type. And so I never really had any issues with my coordinators. I thought they were all cool. So I had a different experience.
And I would say that, like, one of my locations when I was in Bell Service, I didn't care for management. But when I was at Animal Kingdom Lodge, I had no problems with the management there. So I think it's, of course, based off of location.
Yeah, managers, for me, working with them, you could tell the ones that are genuine and you could tell the ones that were just like they were Disney cast membering a Disney cast member. And that's
Yeah.
what was just like, oh, stop. It's gross. Stop doing that to me. I know
Yeah,
what you're doing.
yeah.
I don't like it. Stop. Well, we're just having a great day. And it's all like, oh, no, we're not.
Yeah.
Can we just be real here? Because we are real people. And yeah, no, there was some where you're just like, oh, they're coming over here. What are the 4 keys again? They come up to you like, the 4 keys are this. I'm not asking you that. It's like, oh, good. I didn't know the 4th one. You don't
Yeah,
know
it's-
safety? And you're like, yeah, it always eludes me.
The managers tend to always be very busy, but when they're not busy, they do go hunting for cast members. This is true.
Get off the wall. Don't talk to the cast members. Sit there. You know.
I had this one moment where I was working at Kidani Village, which is like the smaller like DVC resort at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and it's a small lobby. And they had this thing where like they wanted the front desk agents in front of the desk. They didn't want us like stuck behind the desk all day. They're like, okay, if you don't have a guest in front of you, you need to be in front of the desk. And so, and you're supposed to like create magical moments. And so there was, at this day, there's no one in the lobby.
It's 3 in the morning.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just in the afternoon. No one's in the lobby. There's no one to talk to. And the manager comes by and so like, what's everyone doing behind the desk? Get out behind the desk and go out front. And we're like, what are we supposed to do? And so all of us had a roll of stickers to pass out.
Oh yeah. the
And
stickers.
there's like, I would say there's like 6 of us standing in front of the desk, huddled, talking to each other because there's no one else to talk to. And then we would see one kid and we're all like attacking them with stickers.
Here's magic, kid. Ah! I'm lost.
It's only 4 in the morning. Hello, kid. Magic stickers. I'm lost. Where's my room at?
Here's a Mickey sticker. You're not lost. Your parents are lost.
It's pretty interesting what Disney Resort cast members will create with Disney stickers. We make crowns and tiaras and armor with Disney stickers. So
And that's one thing. Managers can kill magic. So when I was working at Mission Space, there was this position called Space Race, where you got to recruit people to play this game, and you got a little console, and you got a screen until you have one team against the other, and it's fun. And depending on how much they participate doing the games, that contributes to how fast their ship excels in the game. And so it's not predetermined. The guests can control it. But the thing is, people get off the ride and they're like, they don't think, let me play this interactive game. I want to go and ride the next ride. But so I came up with this theme where I was narrating what was going on in Space Race, and I was like, oh, here comes Blue. Oh, this guy messed up his game, made it into a game show. And the manager's like, oh, I love what you're doing, but you got to stop because it's unscripted. And so at that point, no one wrote Space Race. They came out going you're not supposed to deviate from the script. And so you just hear cast members going, Space Race is starting in the next 20 minutes. Anybody? Anybody? I have to talk like this. My manager told me so. As the manager walks by. Anybody want Space Race? It was just, you just throw it in their face like, you're making this suck. It's you.
it's true. There are those moments where managers will be like, oh, you have to follow these rules, which can ruin some magical moments.
It really does.
So let's kind of go on. We'll go on to pay and benefits. Pay's not good. You don't work there for the pay.
It sucks. I worked there for 3 years. I only had 40 cents more an hour. I started at $8, and when I left, it was at $8.40. And that's tough. I mean, you end up having people with 4 or 5 roommates in a 2-bedroom apartment. People are double stacking. You just see people get crushed by living there at Disney.
They have
Yes.
raised the minimum wage there now. I believe it's now at 15.
Jeez.
So that just changed. So that's recent.
Yeah, I think
so.
when I was working there it was 11.
But you were in a different position. You weren't in front desk gets paid more. Or did you get paid the same while you were?
I got paid the same.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, the pay was really bad there. I think as a CP, I was making $7.60 an hour.
I think
and it
mine
was-
was $6.50. I think that's what mine was.
It was really low. And the way they based it off is we're basing it off of what tourism attractions or tourism theme parks pay their employees in the area. Well, the other theme parks based it on what Disney's paying. So it's just
Right.
snake eating snake situation where you're like, wait a second, I'm getting I'm getting shafted here. This isn't fair.
Well, and eventually people who would work for a lot of cast members who would start as college program, they would start working at Disney. They would love their program. They would stick through. They would become seasonal or part-time, full-time, and then realize that Universal paid a little bit more.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it was
so
like
they would all
$1.50
jump
more.
ship.
And honestly,
They would-
from what I've heard, Universal treats their employees better.
Oh yeah, they
Yes.
gave them turkeys during Thanksgiving. Here's a turkey. And it's
Yeah.
my friend was like, dude, I came home with a turkey. You know what Disney gave me? Toy Story 3. I can't eat Toy Story 3. I can eat a turkey. it was silly. Like 5 years was the mark for Disney employees that come up from the college program. If you stay longer than 5 years, your chances were like 50-50 from like retiring there. But most people they leave after 5 years.
And that comes up real quick. How was your transition from how was it different working there as a CP to being a full time employee?
It's different because you no longer work night shift. You work during the day, and as part time, you work whenever they want you to work. But you set parameters like, hey, I've got school on these days, so I can only work these days and for these hours. And so they do work with you on your schedule. It is like a bidding, like when you go for full time, it's based on seniority. And so they'll ask in order what days you want off. So most the people that work there for 20 years, they don't work weekends. They're off Saturday, Sunday, most of them. And the rest, you're just like, I just want Tuesday, Wednesday off, or Monday, Tuesday, something like that. And it works.
Yeah, and with Disney, how they do their seniority is it's your seniority working for the company overall. So you can jump from location or different position and still keep your seniority rank. So if you've worked there for so many years, you can still keep your seniority rank at a different location. And so an often question when you start as a cast member is all the older individuals will come up to you and be like, "What's your seniority?"
Yeah. It's this like position of privilege of like, oh
They throw,
yeah,
they throw up their arbitrary number that they have, which was interesting because I had like three people on my at my attraction that like had been there for like
day
20
one.
years, like been there since the beginning of MGM Studios even opening, and like they've never worried about getting whatever they wanted.
Yep. Like I said, there was Miss Joe in the other episode where she had her own break room because she was there from day one, and
Yeah. So let's go and let's wrap it up, and we'll go individually. Why we don't work.
why we left the company.
Why we left the company. Peter, why don't you start?
Okay, so a decision came. I mentioned before that like when I went to go work for Disney, I didn't really have a plan as to what I was going to do after high school. So this was basically my plan after high school, and then the opportunity came to like, okay, are you going to extend? Are you going to stay? Like, what are you going to do? And I had a feeling, and that feeling was I needed to leave, so that I could prepare myself to go serve a religious mission, which I previously talked about, which I did, which again, no regrets. It was a best decision of my life to do that, but it was one of those things. Thinking about my dreams growing up as a childhood, I'm gonna go work for Disney. I'm gonna go be an Imagineer, and so I thought this was my lead into that whole new world of possibilities. Oh, how young and naive I was. Um, Realizing that path to becoming the Disney guy that spends his next 50 years working inside the park, I wasn't sure if that was the path I wanted to go down. Um, and so, it's something that me and my wife we talk about when, one of these days we might end up moving to Florida, and when we retire, I might decide to go work at Disney again as a nice retirement job, so that I can take my family to Disney World, or I can just go to Disney World on my free time, sort of thing. So it's something that like I don't see this as a possibility for long-term sustainability for me and my family right now, but down the road when I don't have to pay a mortgage and I'm just covering for me and my wife, yeah, sure, I wouldn't mind going back and picking up a nice job writing a car on Main Street or something simple.
You got to do 20 years before you get to pick up that
Yeah.
car job.
I know, I know.
Be a greeter in Bell Service. You can get away with a lot.
How about you, Jackie? Why do you not? Why did
Yeah.
you, like, your hospitality?
Yeah.
You're at, like, hospitality mecca right there. Why didn't you stay?
Yeah, so you would think that I would stay working for Disney. It was hospitality major, hotel industry, like prime example. Well, first off, the hospitality industry in Florida is very competitive. Before, like, when I got my degree, people are like, what's a hospitality degree? Did you work in hospitals? And
Yes, go away.
yeah. But then when I went to Florida, it was like everyone had a hospitality degree. I mean, it's such a common degree, and everybody wants the same thing. So, like, if you want to work for Disney and work for management, it's very competitive.
Oh, I had managers that were making like 40,000 a year. They had master's degrees in like German literature and you know, just different like marketing, like MBAs, and just like you're working as a manager, and you can make more working at a Costco manager. It's just like you bought into the Disney dream. Here you are.
Yeah, and I got to the point, I was coming towards, I had extended my college program, I loved it, and I got towards the end, and I had an option to extend like a couple more months if I wanted to, or I could try to go part-time, full-time, seasonal. That's kind of like your next step after.
It takes about a
like,
good like 6 months to a year to get in.
And I knew a lot of friends that were trying to, but because of like Shanghai Disney, it was tough to go full-time, part-time, or to get a professional internship. It was just a really tough thing to do at my time. And you come to a point and you look at your coworkers who've worked there for many years.
That's usually the case. You look at it, you're like, I don't want to be like you.
And you go and you look at, this person's been here for 5 years, this person's been here for 10 years, this person's been here for 20 years, and they've done all the positions, and you look at them and you go, do I want to be where they're at? And the truth was no.
No, I'll pass. Your life sucks. I want a different life.
No, not true. Some of them love their job.
No, they love their job, but man, they could get so negative. They were
Yes.
so jaded. For me, I had to leave working during the day to work at night because the cast members that were full-time became so negative
Yes.
to where I needed to be around like the CPs that are like, oh, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, you're the best. As opposed to like, I hate Donald. Ugh, they like flick their cigarette butt back to the magic. You're like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very true. You always saw the full timers. Their breaks were always in the outside areas, in the smoking areas.
And they always complained about their lunch break being late. My lunch break's 10 minutes late. CPs are like, I haven't gotten a lunch break in 4 hours. You're like, oh
Right.
boy, union be all over that, but you're a CP. Sucks to suck.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, so, you look at your coworkers and you see, you're like, is this where I really want to be in this many years? And another part of my decision was I was not in love living in Florida nor living in California.
Yeah.
Those are just two states that I just do not have the desire to live in. I lived in Florida, of course, when I was working at Disney World, and it was tough. I had never been in a location where I had to focus on where am I getting my water source, because the water, like the tap water, is disgusting. And I've gotten sick from the tap water. And
I got sick from the tap water too. Like we both had like this stomach.
Yeah, the stomach bacteria.
Yeah, we all like get these stomach pains, and yeah, it hit both of us, and yeah.
And so it's just like I never like knew how like I really had to focus on where am I getting my water source, which is a privilege living in America.
This coming from people from a state where water is life for us here in
Yes.
Arizona, where it's just like, where's my water?
So I just knew that long term it wasn't the right fit for me. And that's the main reason why I decided not to work for Disney.
Oh, I got so burned out. I was just done. I had a relationship there. I did the whole fall in love as a college program person, stayed, pursued the relationship. The relationship ends, and then you're like, you do some life thinking, like life orienting like decisions where it's like I was finishing up my associate's degree, so I was gonna do a direct pass into go to UCF, University of Central Florida. I jumped in a hospitality major to I just got my just straight AA. I just need to get an AA, and then I was gonna do teaching. That's what I was gonna do. I was gonna become a teacher there, and I just was looking around Florida, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to be here. What is here? What is so great about this place? And that was a determining factor for me. It was like, I got really nothing here. And so I bounced, and I was like, oh, I'll go back home and, give the home state and city another run. Would I go back to Disney World? I think I would go along Peter's plan. If I needed a job to stay busy, it was fun. I mean, I would see people on oxygen tanks going to Magic Kingdom to work in the plush replenishment center. Like, it's like, what do you do besides just like don't fall over and hurt yourself? Like,
It's true. When you're working with the individuals that are just there retired and just working for Disney for the benefits.
they're hilarious though.
Oh,
They
they're
are.
funny because
They're
they
some
can
of
get
the
away
best
with
cast
anything because the managers will try to correct them and they're like, nope, not doing that.
According to the management book right here, it says this, and it was hilarious just to see them throw their words right back at them.
And one
Yeah.
coworker, you always said his catchphrase was "not my job."
Let me call a manager. That's their job. Yeah, it just got to a point, and the big benefit of working at Disney was the being in the park. And there was a point where it's like I didn't want to be there. I just was so burned out, and I just got disillusioned. Like the guests were mean, they were getting meaner, or I was just getting more agitated with them. And there was a point where it's like, I'm done. I'm out. I don't need to go or be there.
That's something we didn't really talk about. The magic being ruined for you. There's just certain moments where you're just like, oh, that's ruined my life, my childhood. Watching certain things happen backstage. You're just all like, oh, look as Miss Piggy pops her head off and it's a dude, and Kermit the Frog pops his head off and it's a girl. It's just like, this is weird.
Or you're riding the bus home and someone's got Snow White makeup, but
Right.
she's got blonde hair, and you're just staring at her like, what is wrong with this reality I'm looking at? I don't get it.
Right.
Yeah. And I think, yes, as longer when you work as a cast member in the parks, the magic does go away, or you get tired of going to the parks over time.
That's where that 5-year mark goes. So that you've got to really believe in what you're doing.
Yes.
And the mission of Disney.
And those that do love their job.
And they
Oh,
do.
yes.
Those managers, when they are fully in, those are the good managers.
Yes.
Even managers or just regular cast members, the ones that like they understand, they believe, and they want to be a part of it. Like, those are the cast members that you see in the commercials. Those are the ones that have that good reputation amongst the annual pass holder, super Disney fans. They always talk about these certain cast members, or those ones are the best.
Yeah.
Or the ones
You
that
know.
have the blue badge.
Yeah, the
The
legends.
the legends.
Legacy. Is it
yeah,
Legends?
Legacy.
I can't remember. Yeah, you got to believe in it, like with any other kind of company's mission, and it's fun. Like I said, I always recommend it to people. If for shy people, young teenagers that are trying to figure out where they want to go or be, doing a college program and learning those customer service skills and learning how not and like once you do a customer service job, you learn how to treat other human beings in those positions. And I think that's something valuable that our at least American society needs, is to learn how to treat other human beings and not to throw tantrums. Like, people yell at people on the phone, who are taking the phone calls to manage your accounts. They didn't make the decisions. Why are you screaming at them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are human beings. Treat them as such. These are not, barriers or walls or obstacles for you to scream at, to knock down. So yeah, it was eye opening working there, and I certainly treat people in customer service a lot different.
Yes. And I think, kind of wrapping things up, at least for me, I definitely enjoy being a guest at Disney over working.
It's still fun to go to the parks. People always ask,
yes.
"Oh, it's the Magic Room?" It's all like, some aspect are, but I appreciate what is going on and what is provided still, and I just take it.
And there's a lot of work in the behind the scenes and backstage that brings you that magic that you see. And working as a cast member, you learn to appreciate that.
A queue management, opening up queues, closing it, organizing it to get guests to flow in.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And so, as we are going to end this episode, just a word of advice: please be kind to your cast members.
Please be kind. Rewind.
Be kind to those cast members. They are not working for a lot of money, and they are working really hard on their job. So be nice to them.
Yeah. Be nice.
And thanks for listening. Have a magical day.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember, before your bobsled comes to a complete stop, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember...
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.